Hello everybody, welcome back to ABA with Dr. D. This is your host Dr. D. A real pleasure to see everybody here once again. Today we're going to talk about ecological arrangement or environmental rearrangement. This is a very good topic because it is something that we work or we implement when we're working with children or with any client, and we need to sometimes make some adjustments to the environment. So for example, if a child has more likelihood to engage in escape behavior because they're closer to the door, or they have access to items, right, that they can basically easily eat or engage with, toys for example, then obviously the control that we have over the behavior and as a whole is very limited. So this particular topic is going to be able to give you some ideas on how to address that particular situation when it comes to environment. As we know in our field, we talk about environment being the key to being able to make any type of adjustments to behavior, right, or any changes to behavior. So I hope that this topic you will find interesting. So let us begin here. So first of all, let's define what ecological arrangement is. So ecological arrangement focuses on making changes to the physical environment to prevent the occurrences of the target behavior. This is a very important statement there because it just talks about that here we're trying to prevent or reduce the likelihood of problem behaviors occurring, okay? In other words, to manipulate the discriminative stimuli or SDs in the environment to reduce the chance of the target behavior from occurring. This is an antecedent-based intervention, and that is why we're talking about here reducing the likelihood or preventing these particular behaviors, okay? This procedure is used before the behavior occurs, okay? We talked about that, and then stimuli arranged in the environment should be linked to the function of the target behavior. So that's a really important thing there, because at the end of the day, we are just randomly arranging the environment and it's not really making any kind of adjustment for that particular function or response class we're looking at, then it's not really going to matter. So at the end of the day, it's really important to do a thorough assessment, identify those functions of behavior, and then we start identifying which specific ecological arrangement are we going to make to be able to address the behavior, okay? So here once again, we're looking at, sorry, went back there. In some situations, your client, so here's this one talking about sensory. We're actually talking about the actual first function, which is sensory. In some situations, your client might engage in sensory seeking behaviors that involve stimuli in the environment, such as rocking chairs, chewing tube, etc. So removing these related environmental stimuli might lower the chance of occurrences of these sensory seeking behaviors. So sometimes by just removing access to these items, you're already reducing the likelihood of some of these sensory based behaviors. Now sensory is a very difficult function that we treat. It is obviously difficult because it is automatically reinforcing whatever sense reinforcement from their senses that the individual's gaining. They're able to control that themselves, right? Something that they have access to. So for us on the outside, it's harder. So we will do our best to make these adjustments. This might be a solution to it. I would definitely try to incorporate it as a possible solution for sensory based behaviors that might potentially be worked on or addressed if we do some type of ecological arrangement, okay? For attention, so if the child has a tendency to engage in challenging behaviors during therapy sessions to get mother's attention, an ecological arrangement can be having the client's mother to go elsewhere during the therapy sessions. Now that's once again a very straightforward type of solution. We would wish that would be easy to see a solution like that right away, but it's not easy, right? So that's where we want to make sure it's something that is a match for our client in that particular scenario. But here the overall idea, the concept behind it is that we're able to make some changes to the environment by removing individuals or situations, in this case also peers can be another one, that give access to attention, which once again is a very high reinforcer for a lot of the clients we work with. For escape, so if the client has a tendency to run away from the dining table during mealtime, an ecological arrangement can be seating him or her in the corner or seating the client for younger children in a high chair to prevent him or her from running away. So very, once again, based on adjusting where we're sitting the client. I've seen this one right here implemented a lot in the field where, some of the students that you're working with specifically in the classroom, they might be sitting really close to the door, and that's why you see a lot of elopement behavior. So we might want to place the student a little bit far away from the door where we have some type of chance to react, or we might want to put a chair or something in between the child and anywhere where they can basically run out. Once again, this is all examples, very generic examples. The idea here is the fact that we're looking at the environment, we're assessing the environment, seeing what we could do in that environment for the purposes of reducing the likelihood of these particular behaviors. Okay. For tangible, if the child has a tendency to throw tantrums over certain items, an ecological arrangement can be initially putting those items out of the sight and eventually attempt to fade these items back in. So we might basically remove access to these items because of themselves they are creating problems, and then systematically we start bringing them back in once we have better stimulus control. So that's an example of a tangible. It can vary for each child, you know, and it can be something that we have to be very careful about, that if once again the treatment causes more behaviors, more problem behaviors, and it become a bigger issue, then we have to see whether this could be a solution, or this particular situation might be a solution. But if you're working with tangible maintained behavior, just look at the environment, make sure that the client does not have easy access to reinforcers or items that could be considered reinforcers, and that's where you'll see a bit more, once again, of the control. And initially you might notice some, you know, resistance. Obviously it's normal. You might see some more tantrums, but eventually you're going to be able to control those particular items, and then you'll have control as to when you're going to be able to give those items contingent on positive behavior. We're going to watch a quick clip here that shows a non-example of ecological rearrangement for escape purposes. So here the child's going to have pretty free range or access to being able to escape from the chair. So let's take a look and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so you saw there that in that particular situation, the child had an opportunity to have access to the chair that moves around a lot. You know, obviously there's an opportunity to even escape the task easily. So that right there happens. Sometimes we're working in environments where, you know, they're in the classroom or wherever we're at. Sometimes the chairs or wherever the client is sitting at, that is easy access to engage in other distracting behaviors that can remove the attention from the actual task that we want our students to do, or children we work with to do. So this is a non-example. Non-example means basically not what we want to see, and it's actually good to see a non-example, because once again, this is what sometimes we do when we're first starting with the client, we're getting to know them, we might put them in situations where they get access to, once again, reinforcement the way this particular child was doing. Okay, so look at another video. I think the next video will be an example of actual implementation. Let me see if this is placed here. Okay, so that's me right there. I'm gonna place another chair next to him. Okay, with the idea of
Joseph,
trying.
come here. All right. Sit down. Great. All right.
Okay.
Let's do homework.
Okay, so you were able to see really quickly that just with the very simple, very quick adjustment to the environment, when I place the chair on the right side of Joseph, that was sufficient to control, to reduce the spinning behavior we saw earlier, that twisting behavior in the chair. So once again, this is something that you as a clinician, you that you're working in the field, can look at the environment, assess it, see what you can do to adjust it. Then at the day here, we're trying to reduce distractions, we're trying to reduce access to reinforcement in other forms and manners, and that's where we need to once again assess what we could do to be able to once again keep our kids more engaged and focused in the activities we want them to do. I hope you found this video helpful. There's so many videos available for you. This is once again a series of videos we have for antecedent-based interventions. We had a couple videos last couple weeks where we talked about priming, behavioral momentum. Don't forget to check those videos out. Those could definitely help you out for training purposes and to overall demonstrate and talk a little bit more about different ways to reduce likelihood of problem behaviors. Thank you so much. If you haven't done so, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell. See you soon.